and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, we've managed to find 2 little leopard cubs, and they're lying next to waterhole. This is Safari Live. Ready.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome to the Sunset Safari, and we've managed to find Hosana and Xongile, the royal cubs. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have my good friend Brian Joubert, and of course a lot of you will know that tropical cyclone Djuma is early. It's arrived on Brian's thumb, but we are expecting some intense weather over the next 4 or 5 days, and we're not sure whether it's actually going to hit us or not. Oh, Hosana. Hello, little fatty. Now, a big welcome to all our schools that are joining us today. It's great to have you with us. And of course, what a special treat to be able to have Hampton, Crosby and Newlyn schools with us. And isn't this a great way to start, guys? 2 leopards. So please send me in your questions. I'd love to hear from you. And you can see the young male is having a bit of fun. He's playing with the grass. He's bored. His sister is fast asleep, however. So they're just over a year old. Now, Nadia is wondering how I tracked the leopards. Well, Nadia, what happened is first I found their footprints from where I found them at about 11 o'clock this morning. And then when I went to where I left them, they weren't there. So I went, oh dear, I need to find these leopards. So I jumped off the car and I followed their footprints. And I followed their footprints for a while, and I saw their footprints were coming towards this area. And I thought, well, it's really hot today. It's 88 Fahrenheit, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 degrees Celsius. And if I was a leopard and it was really hot, where would I go? And the answer to that, Nadia, is I would go to a waterhole. So I didn't walk all the way. I stopped probably about 150 meters from here. I went back, got Brian, we drove around, and we found the leopards sleeping next to the waterhole. So a lot of tracking, Nadia, is actually a lot of thinking like an animal. So you don't actually have to follow each footprint, but you sort of say, if I was a leopard, where would I go? It's the best way, I find. Now, these guys are just over a year old. This is the female closest to us. She is much smaller than her brother already, even though they're the same age. And male leopards do get much bigger than the females. They get to about 200 pounds when they're fully grown, whereas the female is normally around 100 pounds. So a male leopard can be double the size of the female. And he's already, at just over a year, bigger than his mom. Oh, sorry, my head wandered into shot there. Oh, kitties. See, he's just playing with the grass. He's a bit bored. So their mother will leave them in a place like this where there's water, shade, and good trees to climb to get away from predators. And while they do that, she goes off to try get them dinner. Now, Dax says, what do they eat, and when was the last time they ate? They ate last night, Dax, and they eat antelope, which are a little bit similar to deer, and they eat small to medium-sized antelope, impala, even up to a kudu, but normally steenbok, duiker. So they eat meat. They are 100% carnivores. They don't like their vegetables. Look at him playing just like a kitty. Now, Emily is wondering, how can we get so close to the cubs? Emily, I've known these cubs since the day they were born. I found them when they were about this big, and if you drive carefully and considerately and you spend a lot of time with them and you don't show any aggression or chase them around with the cars, you can see you can get very, very close. It's called habituation. So these animals are habituated to the car, so they don't see people in the car, they don't see us as a threat, and that's why we're able to get so close to them. Hey Songololo. Now, we are going to sit here and see if these leopards get up to anything or if their mom comes back. But it is a very special day today for another animal that lives out here in Africa. And my good friend James is going to tell you all about it.
Hello everybody from Hampton, Crosby and Newland schools. My name is James and those are Hippo. And you know what? It's International Hippo Day today. That's exciting, isn't it? So if you were a hippo, you'd have your very own day. David is on camera. My name is James Henry, and you can ask us any questions you like during the course of this drive. We're going to sit here with these very special hippos, and, well, we're going to appreciate the fact that they live here in the water, and I know that many people have hippo as their favorite animal. Especially many of our younger viewers like hippos. Those ones are now hiding from us. They're very good at hiding under the water, and there are probably about 30 or so of them there in this water, but they're all over the place, and lots of them hiding from the very hot African sun. And you can also see the wind is blowing very, very hard. And I don't know if Brent told you, but we're expecting some very heavy weather. And I don't think these hippos are too happy about that. And so they're like, oh, look, they're playing around on that side. Naturally, they've gone under the water before we can show them to you. Now the others are playing. Hey, there we go. And they're just having fun because, you know, being a hippo is quite boring. All they do all day long is lie in the water. And then at night they come out and they eat a bit. And then they just go back into the water. And there they sit all day long, not thinking about much. And so when it comes to this time of the day, the young bulls like that, those are young bulls, they get very cross and bored, and so they start to play. And I don't know if you know, when you guys are on the playground and you get a bit bored, well, you probably start to do the same sort of thing, push each other around and have a bit of a wrestling game. Hannah, you want to know how much they weigh? Hannah, they weigh about 2,500 kilograms for a very big bull. So those little chaps there probably weigh about 1,500 kilograms, 1,500 kilograms. And if we convert that to pounds, you multiply it by 2.2 and you get to roughly, say, 3,500 pounds for those hippos. But a big bull will weigh about 6,000 pounds. And there's a very, very small one in this water somewhere. I'm trying to see if I can't see it. Now, Sophia, what you will hear or read is that a hippopotamus can hold its breath for around about 8 minutes if it has to. I have never seen a hippopotamus hold its breath for anything like that long. The longest I've seen them stay underwater is normally 1 to 1.5 minutes. So I think you'll find that normally they're under the water for about 30 seconds, and they come up again, and then they go down again. And I'll tell you what I want everybody in the class to do. We're going to keep the camera over there. Now, the next time that hippo, there, it's up. Now, hold your breath, hold your breath. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, that's a different one, 17, 18, 19, 20, there it is, 20 seconds. Alright, we float. Hippos don't float. They sink down to the bottom, and so they're always in water that they can stand in if they're resting. Otherwise, what they do is they run along the bottom of the water, and they jump up, and then they breathe. You know how if you go to into a pool and you sink to the bottom, if you let all the air out of your lungs and then you push yourself up to the top again, well, that's what a hippo's doing all the time, except it's more normally underneath the water. Valentine, I don't really know the answer to this. You say, how come hippos have their very own day? I don't know, but you know what? There are funny very own days for all sorts of things. There's probably stamp collection day. There's probably an international ant day, international termite day. There's probably international pine tree day. There'll be all sorts of funny days that there are around the place, but today is International Hippo Day. So we thought because we're on safari, we will celebrate International Hippo Day. Now we're not going to spend all day here because, well, we'd get as bored as those hippos. So let's see what else they have here. Oh, we've got some water buck down over there that David has spotted. Jana, while we look at those, I will try and tell you why it is that hippos got their name. Well, it's quite an interesting one, that, and I've actually got quite a lot of information on it. Hippopotamus. Hippo actually doesn't mean hippo, it means horse, believe it or not. And potamus, I think, means... Oh, let me just check quickly. Let me just make sure that I'm not talking nonsense to you. I will find out for you in just a little while we enjoy the hippopotamus. Here we go. It's derived from ancient Greek, and hippo does mean horse, I was correct about that, and potamus means river. So it was river horse. Hippopotamus, river horse. Now it doesn't look like a horse, does it? But anyway, that's how it got its name. And you know what they call it out here in the language of Xitsonga or Shangaan? They call it Mfubu. Mfubu. That's quite a nice word to say. Mfubu. So say that in your class, but don't spit all over your friends when you say it. Mfubu. And that is hippopotamus, the river horse. Right, Brent is with the leopards, we're going to be with the hippos. We're probably going to move from here fairly shortly, and then we might come back a little bit later. But there's somebody else out as well, and that's Jamie, and she is walking.
I am indeed walking, and a very good afternoon to all of you on this gusty afternoon. My name is Jamie, as James told you, and this afternoon VM is the man holding the bushwalk camera as well as the enormous backpack that is sitting on his back, which allows us to take you on a walk with us. And what you're seeing is happening right here and right now in South Africa. For those of you that have just joined us, a very warm welcome to our schools for this afternoon. We're very, very excited. We hope you are all excited, and hopefully we have some special surprises for you up our sleeves. We're going to try something new today and see if it works, but I'm not ready to try it just yet. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to see if we can get it to work first, and then hopefully it's going to give you a whole new perspective on the world in which we are. So when we're out on foot, one of the reasons that we're out on foot is because it is a really good way of spotting some of the smaller things. Of course, it's always exciting to see animals. I think I've got an idea, sorry. To see animals out on foot. And that's always a fantastic way to experience that. But really what makes walking so special is that you're so much more aware of the bush around you, the smell, the wind. Here it comes, the wind. And being right up close, the feel of nature, you totally experience the wilderness around you, and that's what makes bushwalking so special. Now today we're going to be quite careful about where we're walking because it is so windy. We're going to make sure that we try and essentially avoid all of the different big animals out here, and the reason behind that is it is such a windy day that it tends to make animals, especially things like elephants, very, very nervous. And we don't want to make them feel afraid, and we don't want to put ourselves in danger. So we're going to be staying in the nice open areas where we can see around us and not bump into anything big and scary and scare that and scare ourselves at the same time. So somewhere where it's nice and open. This wind is the beginnings of a very, very big storm that's on its way. And it's blowing us around. Look at that. And we're also not going to go too far from home because I'm a bit nervous Even though it doesn't look like it's going to rain now, I'm a bit nervous that it is going to start raining before the end of the afternoon. So we're going to stick around and stay close at home. Now, I'm sure you're all very excited to see more of the big animals out here. Let's go back to Brent with his leopards.
Well, we're still with the leopards. I said we're not going to move. They've both just popped their head up. I wonder if there's not an antelope wandering around behind us. I can't see anything. But they might have heard something. You must remember, their hearing is infinitely better than ours. And their eyes are specifically designed to pick up movement. Now, Barb is wondering, why do leopards have spots? It's for camouflage, Barb. So it helps break up their outline so they can get closer to the animals they want to kill and eat. Now, at the moment they're lying quite out in the open, but if Brian zooms out from the beautiful Xongile, you see as you go wider and wider, they become harder and harder to see. Just look how those spots have worked on Hosana. You can barely see him there. I definitely can hear or see something. And you never know what's around the next corner. I mean, there could be an elephant walking close by to us. There could be a hyena. There could be a squirrel. That's the one thing about being on a live safari. We can't predict what's going to happen. Oh, yep, Xongile has seen something. Something has got her interested. Brian, can you see anything from where you are in that behind us? You see anything there, Brian? Not at the moment. There's something that's caught their attention. Now, Skylar is wondering, why are the leopards breathing so fast? It's because they've got meat in their tummies, Skylar, and they can't sweat like us. So how they cool down is to breathe very quickly. So they push the air over their tongue and the blood vessels in their tongue and in their mouth, and that cools the blood, and then they pump it through to the rest of the body. So basically it's like their air conditioner. The faster they breathe, the cooler they can get. Now, leopards normally hunt at night or in the early morning or late afternoon, but leopards are opportunists. So if an animal happened to wander up to them, even when it's really hot like this, they would take the chance at being able to catch one. What did you hear, Xongile? Angel's wondering, what kind of adaptations have leopards developed? Well, we've discussed one of their adaptations, which is those incredibly beautiful spots all over their body. Another one of their adaptations is the ability to climb trees and to take meat into trees, so the lions and hyenas can't steal it from them. So that's a special adaptation. Well, whatever it was, she is now not as interested, and she's decided to lie down again. So there we go. And that is also quite a particular adaptation to leopards. They're the only big cat in Africa that will take their kill up into a tree so other animals can't get to it. So her name is Xongile, and you might hear me call her Xongololo. That's just a nickname, but Xongile means extremely or exquisitely beautiful, and that she is. She is definitely one of my favorite leopards in the whole world, and I've seen lots of leopards. I've been doing this for over 15 years, and I grew up in the bush as well. Now, Nick is wondering, do leopards fight with anyone? Well, Nick, it depends on your definition of fighting. The animal they fight the most with is themselves. So leopards will have territories, and they'll fight other leopards to keep their territories. These guys are still too young, and they're living inside their mom's territory. But sometimes a big male leopard, which young Hosana, that means the little chief, that's him there, will be in a couple of years, will fight with a single hyena. But if there's more than one hyena, he'll run away. But it is unusual. Most of the time, leopards will try avoid confrontation with other predators. So lions and wild dogs pose a big threat to them, and will kill them if they can catch them. Now, you can see that even though her eyes are closed, her ears are always moving, and she's listening not only for potential meals, but also potential dangers like lions or hyenas. Jordan would like to know, is the leopard a predator, and where does he fall on the list? Well, he is most certainly a predator, or leopards are predators, and they are one of the apex predators, so they're quite high up the list. But lions are the number one apex predator, then hyenas, then probably wild dog, then leopard, then cheetah. Now, it all depends on when you judge it as a one-on-one thing, or if it's one-on-one, they will probably be second. Zania would like to know, what season do they have babies? Leopards, like most predators, are able to give birth any time of the year. So there is no specific season for a leopard to have babies. Lauren would like to know, how does a leopard know when someone's coming? Well, they'll use all their different senses, sometimes smell, sometimes hearing, and then lastly eyesight. But I'd say hearing and eyesight are the two most important. Skylar's wondering, how far away can they smell their food from? Well, they probably get whiffs of their food at all the time, especially on a windy day like today, Skylar. But they generally use their eyesight to catch their food. So sometimes they will sniff around if there's an area where a steenbok's been sleeping in that, but they have to spot their prey before they'll start to stalk their prey. Now, we're going to see what happens next. I say, you never know what happened next. They could get up, they could move, an impala could come closer. But while we wait patiently, let's go see why Jamie is playing in the grass.
I'm playing in the grass because I wanted to pick this particular plant for you to show you the different ways that the various plants disperse their seeds. So this particular plant we call blackjacks, and for all of us when we grew up in South Africa, this was a memory that we all have of picking blackjack seeds out of our school socks, because they'd always grow around our school sports fields and around the swimming pools and all sorts of things, and they stick. Now, how am I going to show you this? Because this one's actually not quite ripe. Do you see these? Sorry, let me show you this first. You see these tiny little hairs sticking out there? Now, you can imagine how sticky that is, or perhaps you can't imagine. You'll just have to take my word for it. Those are very, very, very sticky. And what they do is they cling onto an animal's fur. I don't really want to do this, but my pants are not. So what they'll do, there you go, see, it's come away with 3 less. What they do is attach themselves to the animal's fur, like it's attached by itself to my hair. That's going to be a pain to get out, and then eventually it will drop out. Now, Joe, you want to know what kind of, just getting the seeds out of my hair, what kind of habitat we are in. Joe, we're in a sort of a habitat called a savanna environment. So what that means, essentially, and it makes up quite a lot of South Africa, the savanna environment, or the savanna biome, or habitat. What that means is that it's a kind of a balance between a grass layer, so we've got a very, very healthy grass layer, and at the same time woodland as well, so the trees that grow around it. And it's quite nice and evenly spaced. Now, at the moment we're on the crest of a hill, And that means that there's different types of grasses, different types of trees, but we get sort of almost different types of habitats within habitats. So we might get this nice open spot over here on the crest of a hill or on the top of a hill. If we were to go down to where Brent is very close to a dried up river system, and that's actually essentially a different type of habitat. It has different trees, different grasses, different types of soil, and often you'll find that different animals occur there. So if I were walking around here, I sort of know, okay, yes, I could definitely see a lion or a leopard or an elephant, but there's certain types of antelope that I probably won't see, like a bushbuck, because bushbuck don't like these nice open habitats with this sort of grassland. They don't enjoy that at all. They would rather be where Brent is and where those leopards are, which is where there's nice thick vegetation around them. Now, Maya, you want to know what I could see on foot. Maya, I could see an elephant. I could see any of the animals because I'm exactly the same place that James and Brent are. So I could see any of the big animals. But because I'm on foot, it also means that I can get right up close to the various creatures around here. Let me see if I can find you one. Sometimes they stay very well hidden. Oh, I thought I found a chameleon, but it's just a really chameleon-shaped leaf. So I could see reptiles, I could see snakes, I could see spiders, termites, ants, scorpions, all sorts of different things. That's why I love going on bushwalk, because it means that I get to see all of the little insects and the various bugs that we get out here as well. And it's a really great way to learn. Now I'm going to see if I can find you something, because they're all in hiding. It seems as though the wind has been gusting everything away. And we're just on our way to making our way towards a different area where I know there's some fun termite mounds for you. Very good question from Sophia. Oh, here's more of it. Now, Sophia wants to know, what's the purpose of this blackjack seed sticking to animals' fur? Well, the reason is, if these seeds just dropped off here and another plant started to grow, because this is the plant's seed, if another plant started to grow right here, then all of a sudden you'd have too many plants in exactly the same spot. So what all plants have learned to do is to create various ways of dispersing their seeds. I'm just looking to see if I can find you some bush willow seeds maybe, but they don't seem to have any seeds now. So by sticking to the animal's fur, it can be taken to a different place where it could start to grow. And then that way the plant spreads all over the place rather than just being in one place. And that's different types of plants will distribute themselves in different ways. So, for example, let me try and find you another one. This type of grass, this panicum grass, will get eaten and then defecated out. And once it's defecated out, then it will be able to grow in things like, I don't know, elephant dung or something like that. It's actually really, really nice to eat for humans as well. Tastes like oats or muesli. Things. So there's some grass in different areas around this reserve. We haven't had too much rain, so the grass has stayed short, but there's some grass that gets up to here on me, and I'm 5'7", so that's how tall it will grow. It goes very, very tall in our rainy season. In winter, it all dies away, most of it dies away, and the living parts of the grass will be underneath the soil. And that's because winter is our dry season, so the plants don't get any water to grow, and so they need to retreat and wait for the rain to come once again. So that's how tall the grass will get. Let's see if we can find some more seeds. Now, Grant and Nadia, while we creep through the thick vegetation over here, you want to know if it's safe on foot and what animals would we not like to meet. Well, it's important to remember that none of the animals are out to get us. So there's nothing that's going to deliberately attack me. It's only if it was scared, if we got too close. So I've walked all of the animals that there are on this reserve, and I've been absolutely fine every time. But we do have a gentleman with us who's hidden somewhere in the trees. I don't know where he's gone. He walks ahead because obviously I'm listening to your questions through here, through an earpiece, which means I can't hear out of my right ear all that well. And I'm busy talking to the camera, so obviously I've got my back half the time to where I'm walking. So that what Herbert does, is he walks ahead and he helps me look for things, and he also just makes sure that I'm not about to walk into a buffalo or something. In terms of the most dangerous animals, buffalo, hippopotamus, if they are outside of the water. If you walk into a hippopotamus, that can be quite dangerous, and elephants as well. But you can do it safely. There are safe ways to walk up to something like an elephant. You don't need to worry too much about that. We've been doing this for years and years, so we know how to walk about in the bush. Now, Deanna, you want to know what will happen to the animals during the storm. Deanna, some of them will die. Not all of them. Most of them will be safe and sound. They'll just have to shelter and dodge the various blowing of trees and climb up into some of the bigger, thicker trees to stay safe from the water. But that's essentially what will happen with them. But some will die. Some will drown. Unfortunately, it is just the way of things out here. It's also very, very difficult for people in Mozambique, which is the country that is on our boundary, on South Africa's boundary, because they're getting hit with the worst of the storm. So it could be that a lot of people actually really struggle and lose their homes. So as grateful as we will be for a little bit of rain, unfortunately this definitely isn't the way that we wanted to get it. There's another type of seed that has a different dispersal method. This is called red top grass, and these are its seeds. So there you go. That doesn't stick to clothes or to fur. That blows in the wind. They're very, very light. There you go. There goes one. They're very light seeds. So rather than trying to stick to an animal's fur, they blow away. Now, Genevieve and Angel, you want to know what types of insects and flowers we get here. There's too many for me to name. We get lots and lots and lots of different types of insects. Termites, ants, dung beetles, chafer beetles, wood borer beetles, lots of different types of beetles, flies, dragonflies, damselflies, butterflies, moths, lots and lots of insects, and the same goes for flowers. We probably get at least 30 different species of flower around here. Unfortunately, no flowers here because there hasn't been any rain, so we haven't had all that much in the way of flowers. But too many different types of insects for me to count. Alright, let us see if we can. I don't think we're going to be able to creep through here. It's going to get too thick. Yeah, we're in the middle of what's known as a silver clusterleaf woodland. Now, a silver clusterleaf woodland is made up of all of these beautiful silver trees that you see in front of you. And these beautiful silver cluster leaves always grow on what's known as a seep line. So where there's water draining through the soil and moving up through the soil quite close to the surface. And it's definitely not a tree that animals like to eat, which is why in places like this you get to see so many of them. Even elephants don't really like to eat them unless it's absolutely necessary. And let's see if we can creep through here, since there's not much hiding around here. Here we go, something's been lying here, chewing on marula fruit, and that's a different way that a plant disperses its seeds, and it does that by being eaten, because the fruits are delicious for the animals to eat, so they eat them, and then they move them from where they fell out of the tree. So that's a different way in which a type of seed disperses. We're going to carry on with our walk, but since it is such a lovely hippopotamus-themed day, let's go back to James at Chitwa Dam.
Hello kids, we're still here with the hippopotami, the river horses, and you can see a beautiful view there of what is a very big weather system coming in off the coast of Mozambique. Look at that cloud. And I hope you all take the time every so often to look up at the sky and appreciate how beautiful the clouds are. It really is quite special. Now David, who is on camera, spotted something quite special over to the right-hand side. And many of you, of course, will know a bird very similar to this. And it is, of course, the American bald eagle. And there he is. That is not an American bald eagle. It is an African fish eagle, but it's a very similar bird. And I think that they've got a nest in that tree. and that's why it's so hidden. Normally they sit out in the open. Now, Jordan, you ask a very good question as to how hippos find the water. Well, David, is that a fish eagle? I think it is. Let's just perhaps zoom out and pretend that it was. I'm pretty sure it's a fish eagle. Jordan? Yes, it is. I can see it is. Jordan, what happens with hippos? You say, how do they find water? I think there's some memory involved, but I think some of the time also they can smell it. They can smell water, and so they probably have, and I don't think we understand this fully, they can smell water, so they'll move towards where they can smell it. I think also they're quite clever, and so they can see where the rivers are. And it's not difficult. If you were walking around in this area and you knew kind of about living in the wilderness, you'd be able to find water, or you'd be able to find where water did flow by going down the slopes always. And I think that's probably how hippos find new water. But also remember that there's an element of memory. So sometimes they will move between waterholes. When one waterhole dries up, they'll have to move to another waterhole. And so there's an element of memory involved where they just remember where all the water is. And Maya, you say, do frogs live in South Africa? Yes, they do. We've got lovely frogs here. I'm just going to try and tell you how many frogs we have here. We have got, I'll tell you right now, we have got 161 species of frogs in South Africa, and in this area probably about 45 different kinds of frogs. And at the moment, you know what I've got back in my camp, which unfortunately I won't be able to show you, is a tank full of tadpoles that we found, and we're trying to find out which frogs they're going to be. And we've got about 3 or 4 different species, and when they've grown up into frogs we will release them. So we love frogs out here. Do you like frogs? Justin, you're obviously a very fine naturalist. You say, do hippos have blubber? Yes, they do have blubber. Now, Justin, do you know why hippos have blubber? Hippos, much like whales, have blubber, of course, to keep them warm. Because if you live in the water, it doesn't matter how warm the water is, you're eventually going to get cold. So while this water is probably, I'd say it's at least sort of 73 degrees, 75 degrees or so Fahrenheit, it's going to be eventually cold, especially in winter time when the hippos still spend time in the water. It can get very cold, and so they do have a thick layer of flat or blubber that keeps them warm. Sophia, I'm not sure who's told you this, but you say, why don't other animals like some animals in their territories? Well, it just depends on the animal, really. I want you to imagine that you live at home, right? You've probably got a home with maybe a little garden or yard, as you like to call them over there. Can you imagine if everybody in the street just came into your yard when they wanted to and wandered into your kitchen and helped themselves to milk and orange juice and cookies from your fridge? You wouldn't be very happy with that, would you? And it's the same kind of thing with animals out here. So the hippos that live in this pod, which is the group of hippos, well, this is their territory, and they don't like it when strangers come into their territory and eat the grass that they like to eat and lie in the water that they like to eat in. I mean, imagine you came home, and if you're lucky enough to have a pool, you find 4 or 5 strangers having a swim in your pool. Well, you'd think that was very unfair, wouldn't you? And that's why animals are territorial. And Ronan, you obviously ask a very good question there. You say, does anything eat hippos? Yes, they do, but not often. Out here, these hippos are probably pretty much safe. A very small hippo could possibly be eaten by a lion, by a big pride of lions, but because the others are so big, they will protect the smaller ones from the lions, and maybe by a big clan of what we call spotted hyenas. They are quite dominant predators out here. It's unlikely that will happen here, though. In some places, though, especially during droughts, when the hippos get weak and they have to move between the water, then lions do take them. But as long as there's this much water in here, you won't find any lions taking out the hippos. Justin, you want to know if hippos have the biggest teeth in South Africa. Well, they've got very big teeth, but not the biggest. The biggest teeth in South Africa belong to my friend John, who comes from Johannesburg. No, that's not true. The biggest teeth in South Africa belong to elephants, Justin. Elephants' tusks are in fact teeth. And so they are much bigger than hippos' teeth. Although hippo teeth are pretty big, they're probably about, some hippos probably have teeth about 10 to 12 inches long. Now, Vanessa, you want to know how many hippos there are in this pod. I think it's very difficult to tell. I think there are about 30, but they're spread all out over the dam. And they're not always up. Some are up and then others are down, and then some are up and then others are down. So are you counting them? It's almost impossible. There might be, I'd say, between 20 and 30 hippos in this waterhole. And you say, what is a group of hippos called? It's called a raft or a pod. You'll find that people who work in biology normally use the term pod, but sometimes we use the term raft as well. It's a really very beautiful scene that we're looking at here. Now, Mariana, you want to know how much hippos eat in a day. Now, interestingly, something like a rhinoceros, for example, which is about the same size as these guys, they eat probably about, if I remember correctly, about 45 kilograms of food every single day. Now, that is about 100 pounds or so. A hippo eats much less than that. I've read as little as half of that, so say 20 kilograms of food, but I don't believe that it's quite that little. You'll probably find that they eat about 30 kilograms of food, and they eat so much less because they don't do anything all day. You know how you don't get hungry if you just sit around doing nothing, but after you've been playing in the playground or at school all day, you get home, you're really hungry because you've been busy. And so rhino are a lot more busy because they don't live in the water like these guys do, and hippos, because they do so little, they don't eat nearly as much as something like a rhino does. So that's a really good question there. Right, we've been with these hippos for a while now. We're going to move on, see if we can't maybe find some cheetah at Cheetah Plains off to the east. We're going to head underneath that cloud because we're feeling very brave today. Let's head back across to those snoozing little leopards.
Well, heads up, at least, and little Hosana breathing very heavily. He obviously had a good meal last night. And quite often you can see how often leopards move. You can see all the grass behind them and around like that that's been flattened. So leopards will lie till they get the ground underneath them hot, and then they'll flop over, and then they'll flop over again. Now, Paolo would like to know, are leopards allergic to anything? Paolo, not that I know of, and if they are, they probably die very quickly out here. It's always possible for an animal to have an allergy, but generally those animals don't survive in the wild. Nature takes care of them. Well, Dina, following on from Paolo's question, is do we take care of animals if they are hurt or they're sick? We do not, Dina. This is a wild system, so it's not for human beings to interfere here. Nature keeps the balance. So if an animal like this wonderful little cub is killed by a lion or hurt by a lion, we don't interfere at all. The only time we'll interfere is if whatever's happened to them is caused by human beings. But that doesn't happen very often here. It's very wild out here. Look at him playing with the grass. You're having the best time, little boy. It's so hot, but you still want to play. What has he got there? A stick? it a stick or was it a turtle? Never know with him. He is the terror of turtles. He likes to catch them and play with them, and sometimes eat them. Did you see what that was, Brian?
No.
Not sure what he's got there. Mischief. Full of mischief, little leopards. Might be get a chance to see what he's got. Could just be. Is that a dwarf mongoose? Let me just move the car a little bit. I think he actually might have caught a mongoose today. Yeah, I think it's a dwarf mongoose. Let's just see if we can see a bit closer. What you got there, boy? It's definitely meat of some kind. I think he's caught a dwarf mongoose. Does that look like a dwarf mongoose? I see fur. So as you can see, even though Mom's not here, they will hunt for themselves little things like dwarf mongoose and squirrels and birds. I think it's a dwarf mongoose. Quite difficult to see. Well done, Hosana. Or did your sister catch it and you steal it? So, it is time for us to say goodbye to Hampton, Crosby and Newland schools. I hope you guys have enjoyed your live African safari. It's been splendid, and we hope we'll see you on safari very soon.
And welcome back to our live safari. We're on this International Hippo Day. Since you all contributed your drawings of the hippopotamus so kindly to all of us, I have attempted to do the same, but unfortunately it is not working at all. So thank you to all of you for joining us through that school session. Now, of course, you can send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter, or email through to questions@WildEarth.tv. No wonder it looks so weird. Bim? Polar bear. Well, Herbie's added the grass that it's eating. It doesn't look... It doesn't really look like a hippo, does it? It's been a bit disastrous. It's eating grass. There it looks a little bit like a rhino. That definitely looks like a rhino. And my back legs didn't even meet the back of the bottom. So really, all in all, this has been a disastrous job. I'm just going to leave it for somebody to come across. You imagine what the trackers must do when they see stuff like this on the ground. What a laugh they must have. So I have attempted to do my drawing of a hippo. It's hideous. It is absolutely horrendous. My only comforting thought is that it is not as bad as James's. It's not far off, though. But please do, if you are feeling as though you might have a slightly more artistic bent than myself, please send through your drawings of your hippopotami. Please do. I've seen some lovely ones already, so I'm looking forward to seeing one or two more. I try to draw a hippo yawning, but it's really difficult to do from the front. I try to do a nice open-faced, mouthed hippo with the tusks sticking out, but it definitely didn't work. So I'm going to go and retire from my artistic career, carry on with my walking guiding career, and send you, for now, back to the leopards. Let's see if we can find out what Hosana has.
Well, speaking of art, Hosana seems to have managed to get the art of catching dwarf mongoose. We're pretty sure that's what he's caught. So you probably find the mongoose were around here when they moved up from the Mwati riverbed to come have a drink. And difficult to say whether he or Xongile caught it. He probably caught it himself, or he could have stolen it. Greedy guts. There we go. We can see the mongoose now. So for sensitive viewers, just remember this is live from Africa, and sometimes we do see some things that can be a little bit disturbing. So just a quick warning. But the cats need to eat. Now, Randall's wondering, at what age do leopards make their first major kill? Well, Randall, it depends on what one would consider a major kill. If it's a dwarf mongoose, probably maybe even as young as 4 or 5 months. If it's an impala, probably just over a year. Oh, shame, it is a little dwarf mongoose. I saw his nose there. That's the thing I think a lot of us don't realize about leopards, is that during the day they will be constantly catching things, dwarf mongoose, that they come across, monitor lizards. So they don't only eat big impala and stuff like that, they're constantly taking any chance to get a free meal that comes along. Now Matthew's wondering, how big is their territory? Again, Matthew, it all depends on the area. And for example, female leopards in this area have a territory of around 1,200 hectares, which is just under 5,000 acres. Males probably closer to 12,000 acres or even a bit more in this area. But if you move onto areas where there's large river systems like the Sand or Sabi River, females' territories can be as small as 1,000 acres as opposed to 5,000, and males as small as 2,000 acres. So it all just depends on where you are and the amount of potential prey species that are around. I can't imagine a dwarf mongoose tastes too nice. They do most of their scent marking and whatnot with an anal gland, and it is quite smelly, and it looks like he's already eaten that half. But meat is meat, and Hosana must eat. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. There's little Xongile or Xongile, looking quite regal and compared to her brother, who's munching away at the mongoose. Cheryl would like to know if I could tell which bird is calling near the leopard cubs. Well, Cheryl, I'm afraid you're going to have to be a little bit more specific. If it's the chit, that is a woodlands kingfisher. If it's the cock, it's a yellow-billed hornbill. And if it's a pss, 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 it's a rattling testicular. If it's a tee, it's a blue waxbill. Those are the birds I can hear at the moment. Oh, and an emerald spotted wood dove. Toot, 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 toot. And I'm sure if the wind wasn't blowing so stiffly, we could probably hear a few more species as well. Now you'd think, how we've seen him eat on other carcasses, he would just wolf that down. He seems to be savouring it, eating it very slowly. I think it's more of a play thing. Oh, is it all going down? One foul swoop? No, he's still playing with it. Take Care would like to know, do they digest the fur? Take Care, that's one of the few things they are unable to digest. So fur is keratin, same as our hair or our fingernails, and they will either cough it up in a fur ball, or they will pass it out the other end. So they are unable to digest fur, claws, hooves, horns, and some of the bigger bones. Now Rachel's wondering, do the leopards eat insects between big meals? They can. If they are very hungry, I've seen them eat grasshoppers. They do like flying ants when they're out. They're high protein alates of termites. So they do eat insects, but it's not that common. What are you doing, mister? He's not really eating it, he's sort of just crunching it up and playing with it. Although now it seems like he might eat a bit more. Looking very impressed with himself. Now, we're going to sit here. I've just heard they've found Karula probably about 400 meters from here. She's also sleeping, so I think we'll stay with the cubs for now. If Karula gets moving, we might go join them. But while we do that, let's see if James has any luck with our other spotted cat, the cheetah, on Cheetah Plains.
The bum. It's going to be extremely difficult for me to explain to you what I was trying to say there and what was going through my mind, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Hello, everybody. I am James. In case you have just joined us, you can get hold of us. #SafariLive, questions at WildEarthTV. You can send us your comments and your questions, and you indeed are encouraged to do so as much as possible over the course of the next little while. We are on our way to Cheetah Plains, as Brent said, but we are not there yet. We're about to arrive. We're on Chitwa at the moment, and we were hoping maybe to get a sort of look at Thandi, the leopard, and her cub, whose name is Bigglesworth. No, it's not, no worry. That was a suggestion from one of the viewers watching the show the other day, the TV show, and they suggested Bigglesworth was quite a nice name. And there's no ways on earth that the leopard will ever be called Bigglesworth, but I think it's quite a good name. But it won't be called that. I don't think I can move from here, Rebecca. I think you're going to lose us. My phone seems to be talking to me for some reason. That is very odd. Alright. Sorry. What did she say? I think we're going to stay here. Right, we're going to go to Jamie. I will see you on the plains of Cheetah very shortly.
Right, we are trying to figure something out, and that is what we were talking about. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to prepare it properly, but we're going to keep trying, and forgive us if this doesn't work terribly well. But Herbie, VM, and myself have all united with VM's endoscopic camera that we're now sticking down a termite mound to see what we can see. And I'm just utilizing VM's flashlight. No, go that way. I need a stick or something to try and get it. It keeps wanting to curve off to the side there, and that's not where I want it. I want to get it right into the hole. So we're trying out VM's endoscopic camera so we can look right down into various cracks and things within termite mounds, within logs, and all sorts of things in between. Unfortunately, we were just trying to get it all sorted from our side. Just hold on a moment. How do we do this? Foresee being bitten by a termite or two. So this is a really, really lovely idea that VM actually had to try and enhance the whole bushwalk experience. Oh, this termite mound is so hot. Hello, termites. How are we looking there, VM? Are you getting anything vaguely? You can see a termite. Well, they're attacking it from my angle. Yeah, okay, shall I keep my shade, my hat over the phone screen? I can't see what you're looking at. Can you see something there? We're just experimenting for now. I can't move. Oh. They're all gathering round it. They're trying to have a look at what it is. Let me try and do this with The phone?
Increase the brightness.
Can I increase the brightness? Ah. Matthew, you want to know how many termites are in a colony? Thousands and thousands, Matthew. So there are lots of termites in a colony. I can't see anything. There's lots of them, mostly workers, quite a few soldiers, and then of course the queen at the center of all of it. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure this out. While I try and figure out how to make this work and focus on our termites, let's go back to Brent's sleepy leopards in the shade.
There we go. They're still sleeping here. Not much movement. As I said, Mom's not too far away. And she probably left them here and decided, I need a break from the kids. And went and slept. And she's probably going to head out hunting as it gets a bit cooler. So I will keep my ears open to the other game drives to see if she does get moving. But for the moment, young Hosana has swallowed what is left of that little dwarf mongoose. I think it could be in the grass. Now, Alyssa's wondering, at what age do leopards become independent of their mothers? Well, little boys, they tend to stay a bit longer, till about 18 months, 20, even up to 22, 23 months. Oh, he's up. You're only looking for more dwarf mongoose? And females generally become independent a little bit younger, around 16 to 18 months. Let's see if he's going to have a drink, if we can get into a good spot. Or is he going to go play in the mud? This is, of course, young Hosana we're talking about. What are you doing? Now, Stefan is wondering, do leopards have their young at a similar time of the year like the lions? Well, lions and leopards can give birth at any time of the year, with lions being social animals. The females tend to have their estrous cycles quite close to each other, therefore they can have cubs at the same time, and that's because they practice allosuckling, and so they communally raise the young. With a leopard, which is a solitary predator, it is completely random. I mean, if you look at the ages of the cubs around at the moment, you've got shadows that are about 6 weeks, we've got this lot that are just over a year, we've got Vitomi, who's nearly 17 months, and we've got Tundi's cub, who's about, I think he's about 6 or 7 months. So as you can see, various different ages throughout, and it all just depends on their mother's estrous cycles. What are you doing in the sun, silly? No, I got to sit in the sun as well. He does have a goofy look on his face. David's wondering where the leopards are going to go with these big incoming storms that are predicted. David, they'll probably stay on the ground. They're not going to go up into the trees, especially if we're expecting winds that are over 100 kilometers an hour. And Xongile is moving as well. So they're more than likely going to stay on the ground, somewhere probably not exactly like this, but any sort of thicket where there's not too many big branches to fall down. Here we go. At least he's having a drink now. Thirsty boy after eating the dwarf mongoose, probably trying to get the anal gland taste out of his mouth. Oh, Aubrey's just calling me on the game drive radio. Standing by. Over. Where is Xongile? I just caught a glimpse of her behind her brother somewhere. comes Xongile. What is she up to? Was she thinking about stalking her brother? Or was she just looking for some shade? No, I don't think she's interested in chasing her brother. I think she's just moving spots. And, well, we wait to see if they get moving. Jamie has managed to figure out how to look inside a termite mound.
This is so incredibly cool. The secret life of termites as seen while they're inside their termite mound on hot days like today, because of course they only come out at night or when it is cool and cloudy and rainy, which is not going to be too far away. But for now, because the sun is beating down, all of the termites have retreated inside of their termite mound chimney, and we've managed to get our endoscope camera, or at least VM's endoscope camera, all the way down. I would guess it's probably down about at least 3 feet into this termite mound, probably a little bit more actually. It's right down, and it's so intriguing to watch what these termites are doing. Isn't that extraordinary? You can see the massive soldiers and the workers. They don't appear to be doing anything. That's what's intriguing me. They don't appear to be actively working or actually doing all that much. There's a massive soldier pushing everybody out of the way. You could actually just imagine the voices of them, especially those massive soldiers. Hey, coming through. Move out of my way. And then the slightly smaller ones marching around. I'm intrigued at how little they are actually working. I always assumed that underneath the surface of the termite mound, or inside of a termite mound, there was a constant flurry of activity. They're walking up and down, but they don't appear to be actively carrying anything, digging at anything. Every now and again, one of them bumps into the camera. That's that little shake that you see. That's a termite mound hitting the endoscopic camera. Oh, this is going to be so much fun, Viam. We're going to learn so much, especially when we learn to control and get it down, right down into the depths of the termite mound. This is so cool. Valid point from David. First thing I thought about, is there a danger of there being a snake in there? David, yes, there is. Unlikely, though, in an active termite mound, because you've seen the way in which our termites respond to us, and even to the endoscopic camera, which they initially bit when it was moving. And now that they can't, because obviously it doesn't smell like anything really, now that they can't see it anymore, it's not bothering them. They haven't been attacking it at all. They're just ignoring it, except for that one that apparently just bumped into it. So a snake would find itself being bitten to shreds if it were to climb inside an active termite mound. An inactive termite mound, on the other hand, is a dangerous place to stick your hand in, or even one where the termites might still be active in other parts of the mound, but they're not in that particular chimney at the moment. And yes, then you will definitely run the risk of finding things like cobras, because of course it's warm. It's a nice warm sheltered spot, so especially on cold days it is a useful place to be if you're a cold-blooded reptile, or if you're an ectotherm, which is actually the official terminology. It's so interesting, and it's so warm. It is radiating heat in that termite mound. Now, Espen, you want to know if all of these termites are the same type that we're seeing. Let me try and point out to you on VM's screen without using my dirty fingers. There's soldiers, that's a worker over there. These two are workers, the slightly pale color. These two are soldiers over here. These are all workers wandering up and down along here. And then every now and again you see a massive soldier termite. One or two of them have come wandering through earlier on. Don't see any now. Oh, one of them's knocking the camera a lot now. What you doing? Leave our camera alone. We're using it to spy on you. Now, I think the fact that the endoscope is just sort of dangled in, sorry, nearly mixed up viewer's name and the word dangle. James Dungan, you want to know how they would react if the endoscope started to damage the termite mound itself. James, I think they would probably actually start to attack the cable. That's what I think would happen, is they did bite it earlier when we started to feed it through. Obviously they just saw this foreign body entering their termite mound, or felt the vibrations of it, and they rushed to the defense of the termite mound. I think if it were to start damaging, if there was a situation where it could start damaging the termite mound itself, they would start attacking it, and they'd probably start swarming out as well and biting VM and myself. This is utterly intriguing, watching them go about their day-to-day business. I'm also just keeping a very close eye, sorry to distract us from our termite mound musings, very close eye on the bank of clouds. There it is, everybody. The beginning of the cyclone on its way towards us, or the tropic. For us, it's not going to be a full force cyclone. Oh, it's an interesting question. We were just talking about that earlier. Rachel wants to know if the storm that is coming, is it going to drown the termites? Rachel, yes, some of them will, I would guess, some of them will drown. I think what they're going to do is they're actually going to block up the entrances to their termite mound completely and retire into the deeper chambers underneath the surface of the soil. And this is basically waterproof, this hardened termite mound outside structure. So that's not going, well, a little bit could wash away, but it's not all going to wash away. And it's protected, the inside of the termite mound underneath the surface of the ground is protected in that way as well. But yes, I think some of them will drown. Hopefully most of them will block it up. Christopher, you want to know, while we watch our workers and our soldiers wandering back and forth seemingly aimlessly, whether or not they will spend their whole lives in their termite mound, or if they move from mound to mound. They spend their whole lives in their termite mounds, except for the alates of a termite colony. Now, the alates are the winged reproductive members. We've had a few termite mound explosions recently of the winged alates coming out. They are the only ones that will ever really leave the termite mound. They'll go and search for mate, and they will form their own termite colony. Relatively unlikely, though. Now, I have very, very exciting news for you. Something that makes me quite sad, because I missed out on seeing them today. But James has found you a very special surprise.
The other magnificent spotted cat of Africa, the cheetah. Achyonyx ubatus, looking for his brother. Yes. Hello. Now, the story of these two is quite interesting because, of course, if you were watching this morning, I'm sure Tristan would have told you most about them, or most that we know about them. A coalition of two brothers who were seen coming through here, sort of once a month, I guess, at the time. And then, I think they were separated by lions, and they seem to have split apart. We've seen both brothers. This is the other brother now, different from the one that we were seeing about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they just keep missing each other, but I think they're looking for each other. Very heavy marking of territory that they're doing, and perhaps trying to signal at each other. And I think they were separated in the night, of course, and that makes it very difficult for them because they are not really nocturnal animals. Quite a stiff breeze blowing now. Well, Jake, what a wonderful opportunity this is to answer your question. You say, what is the difference, or what are the differences between leopards and cheetahs? Jake, the differences can be seen quite nicely now. This animal is much taller than a leopard, probably about 25% taller at the shoulder. It is also got a tiny head in comparison, so its jaws aren't nearly as powerful as the leopard's. Its teeth are much smaller, and it is over-specialized for speed. all it can do, I mean, and I say all it can do, but its primary sort of modus operandi is to be able to run extremely fast. A leopard is the ultimate generalist. The cheetah is the ultimate specialist. They need space, and they need to be able to catch small to medium-sized antelope. That's almost entirely the bulk of their diets. And then, I mean, superficially you can see, of course, that the spots are different. The spots on this cheetah are, well, they're spots really. They're not rosettes like you would have on a leopard. I'm just going to move around him here. There we go. We'll get a nice view of him coming towards us now with any luck. Isn't he great? I think these leopards, I think these cheetahs are just too fantastic. Now, Octo, you ask a very good question. You say, will there ever be a time when the cheetah brothers will stop looking for each other? Yeah, I imagine there will, you know, but because they will occupy the same territory, it's highly unlikely that they're ever going to sort of not look for each other within the territory. So they are eventually, if they're both alive, which I think they probably are, it's highly unlikely that they won't eventually come across each other, because while they might stop actively looking for each other if things become really desperate, they are in the same area, and so they are bound to come across each other eventually. This is marvellous. I do so enjoy spending time with these cats, mainly of course because they spend a lot of the day actually active. They don't have to wait for the night. And we might get quite a nice picture of this cheetah coming through the drainage line now. We'll stop up here. Let's stop here, Darby. Coming down that road there, I think. And you just ease forward. Yeah, here she comes, or he comes. And you can see, I don't know if you were watching this morning, but there was much less wind. But this animal is very kind of nervous, and I think it's being made nervous by the wind. Tom, you say, do cheetah contact call? Absolutely they do, but they don't have a mechanism to make a very loud noise. So they sound sort of like birds chirping, if you know what I mean. They go chirp, chirp. In fact, I haven't heard one calling for so long. That's probably totally inaccurate. But yes, they do contact call. Here we go. He thought I was... Rebecca reckons he's running now because he thought I was contact calling him. That's not why he's running, Rebecca. It'd be ridiculous. He's a very fine fellow, isn't he? But I think... Ooh, just looking at his mouth, I think he's just eaten, you know. You see a bit of blood there, Dave? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, he's eaten something today. Now, Marie, you say, does the upcoming storm, the predicted deluge, the great harbingers of water have sort of told us is coming this way? Will it affect the big animals at all? Can they see it coming? We don't know that for sure. It's not going to affect them hugely though, because I think it will be a flash storm. It might be 2 days of very heavy rain, after which it will clear out. Here he comes. We'll just move into a nice spot here. Now ZX3, you're saying, do I think that the cheetah population will recover? It depends. Recover from what, ZX3? Do I think it's going to get bigger? I think it's pretty much what it's going to be in this area, ZX3, and I think that's because there are too many other predators. So I think there are simply too many other predators for the cheetah numbers to get too much bigger than they are right here now. And you see how he keeps looking behind him? And isn't that a lovely shot of him going through the grass there? I think that's just beautiful. That is really stunning. So, I mean, they are endangered, and in some places they are just simply going to do better than they are here because there are lots of lions and leopards and spotted hyenas around this area, and that makes it very difficult for a cheetah. They like to avoid being around other big cats and especially other predators. Right, that is just gorgeous, isn't it lovely? Wowee. And it gives you an idea of the strength of the wind now. You can see that grass blowing. He probably ate something small. I wonder, you know, I said small and medium-sized antelope. I reckon they probably eat quite a lot in the way of... Oh, there we go. James Richard, you saying Coral reported that he ate a young impala soon after drive ended this morning. So thank you for that, James. I guess that's why he's got blood on his chops. I think he is heading towards this water, so it might be worth us going along there. What do you say, David? Nick, well, yes and no. You say, will the wind help the cheetahs smell each other? If they're standing downwind of each other, then yes. It's a very strong southeaster. It will remain a strong southeaster. So, I mean, if there's a cheetah to the north of this one when it marks, then yes, it will smell it. Will he smell one further southeast? Yes. But if he is not going to pick up his brother standing, unless he's standing directly in line with the water. Some geese leaping into the water here. Sorry, just a bit bumpy while we... Oh, look at this. Look at this picture. Look at that gorgeous rainbow. Hey, everyone. That is too stunning. That is just gorgeous. It is just stunning. Oh, and the birds flying over the top. We don't often get beauty like this. And there go the geese through the picture. Oh, that's just wonderful. And they keep coming back. They're going to land in the water, I think. There they go. Ah, wow. Hey? That is just stunning. Here he is. Now he's going to have a little bit of a lie down. Why shouldn't he? Poor fellow. He's had a bit of a tough time, I think, of late. Lost his brother. I think he'll probably lie here for a little while and then continue his move south. Now this is very exciting because I don't know what on earth a lion looks like anymore, and Brent is about to show you.
What a wonderful surprise! We've got two beautiful lionesses of the Nkuhuma pride that appeared out of nowhere. We're just down the road from where the leopards were, And we've got this lovely lady lying right next to us. It looks to be the youngest female of the Nkuhumas. I haven't had a good look at the other one yet. They're definitely not Styx lions, far too pretty. But isn't this exciting? Lions, leopards, cheetahs in a drive? I do say, Brian, is this a big cat safari? It is definitely a big cat safari. Well, let's see if we can have a look at the other one. See if we can figure out who it is. So it's probably more than likely amber eyes, just from the fact that the three mothers would probably still be with the cubs. It's not impossible that they've been separated. They could have been separated while hunting. Now, I know the rest of the Nkuhuma pride crossed into Manyeleti last night, and Aubrey followed their tracks. Before that, they were in Buffelshoek. Does that look like Madam Amber? I think it is Amber. Hello, Amber. I forgot what you look like. It's been so long. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you want to ask us any questions. They have appeared out of nowhere. Last I heard, there were two tracks tracks of them probably 10 kilometers away from us early this morning. Now, that means they've walked through the day today. Of course, it hasn't been the hottest day. We've had those showers, but both these lions are looking incredibly hungry. Now, I don't think, well, you might be able to hear some snorting in the background from Impala. I don't actually think the Impala can see the lions. I think the wind is blowing from where the lions are towards the Impala, and they're snorting out of safety. And the Impala on the other side of the water. We're at Twin Dams at the moment. Now we've got lots of decisions to make. There's that. Oops, there's another mafazi up ahead. So there are the Impalalas snorting out of safety. That's quite pretty with that backlighting, Brian, and a little green twig flickering about. You can see the gusting wind in the grasses there. And there is a massive cloud bank coming from behind us. I know you've seen it with James. Those must be some absolutely gorgeous visuals. Oh, it looks like Amber's risen slightly. Having a little cleaning session. So it's Amber and the youngest Nkuhuma Lioness that's here. Toxigenic says now we just need to see a serval and a caracal and our cat card will be complete. Oh, Toxigenic, you forgot one. The African wildcat. Then the cat card would be complete. Standing by. And of course, recently we had an interesting experience where we actually saw a feral domestic cat on the Kruger boundary. But we're not going to count that one. Just come straight to Twin Dams on the eastern side.